Hello, family. My name is James Trice, and I'm the creator of a podcast called YANA, or You Are Not Alone. You Are Not Alone is a podcast for Black men. It is more than just a podcast. It's a lifeline and a brotherhood. We're here to create a supportive, judgment-free space where Black men can have real, open conversations about what truly matters to us, from family and relationships to community, sports, culture, politics, faith, sex, race, education, and the challenges of everyday life. We dive deep into it all. Whether you're looking for advice, motivation, prayer, or just the comfort of knowing you're not walking this journey alone. YANA is here for you. This is your space to connect, grow, and be heard, because none of us are meant to do life alone. Look for new episodes weekly wherever you get your podcasts. And look for me on Instagram at jbtrice123. Welcome to YANA. Grace and peace, everyone. This is James Trice again with another episode of YANA. You Are Not Alone. A space for Black men, for us to come together and talk about the issues that matter most to us, and to in a judgment-free, uncensored environment, because we're not meant to do life alone. This is a space for Black men to understand that they don't have to walk this journey of life alone. And today's guest, I want to get right into the discussion, you all. Today's guest, we have none other than Coley Gates. And I don't want to say much more about this brother because I think he can do a better job of introducing himself than I can. But Brother Coley Gates, thank you for joining me on today's show. Introduce yourself. Tell the audience what you want them to know about you. And let's get right into this discussion because I think it's going to be great.
Okay, I appreciate you for having me, brother. Blessings always. My name's Coley Gates. I'm many things: a father, a friend, a brother, a son. I'm an author, born and raised in South Minneapolis. You know, I come from the trenches. By the grace of God, I came up out of them. I always like to share my story in a different form. And today I would like to just start out by introducing myself to your viewers with a piece I wrote from one of my books, Uncommon Sense, We Are Bigger Than the Box You Put Us In. Mm-hmm. The piece is titled, Brother, Where I'm From. I come from a heavenly symphony. The stars dance into alignment in heaven when God mentions me. I am the son of his son, so I know God intimately. When he spoke, I took form and now what you call a human being. I come from street kings, got the stolen fruit of Africa laced all through his pinky ring. The daughters of God shine like light poles on different corners in these city streets, where math problems become real life problems. 45s and 9s, I subtract those problems. I come from less options, where change around rich is better than the slave master's adoption. Now they say I'm rotten, because my heritage has been stolen and sold to make their profit. Now we part of the forgotten. Sitting in a prison cell where we dwell. I wish my ancestors would have took abortion rather than a slave master's adoption. Because we went from a prison ship cage to a still water sick cage, from a plantation whip slave to a men called work for cent slave. But goddamn it, I'm the fruit that fell from the tree of American society. And now you look at me in dismay? I digress. I come from the same soil where you get your oil, the same mines where you find your diamonds. I come from a black beauty queen whose umbilical cord could have easily became a noose, but instead it decided to cultivate and produce. Pyramids filled with hieroglyphics, the Garden of Eden where God formed his children, but somewhere along the line, I lost my soul and start sending God his children. I sold my soul for blocking buildings with metal rocks pierced through the air to stop people's heart from feeling. I come from more pain, more problems. More pain, that's your problem. More pain, now bullets are exchanged to solve problems. More pain, so I pop them. More pain, so I drop them. Now pain upon pain upon pain is my problem. I come from street kings with big rings, A beautiful woman who has lost her dreams, slave masters who have taught her strange things, violence upon violence, but now you blame me. But America, I gotta ask you, didn't you help create where I come from?
Wow, man, thank you. That's wonderful. Wow, that's amazing, man. When did you write that? Where were you at when you wrote that piece?
When I wrote that piece, I was housed in a Supermax prison, Oak Park Heights. For those who don't know, as a young man, I was sentenced to 999 years, 99 months, and 99 days. And so going in, I didn't really know who I was, so I was searching for identity. And the older gentleman told me I need to sit down and just really put my thoughts down. And so I just started putting my thoughts on paper, and that's where you got that piece from. I
Hmm.
was just searching for self.
Wow, it's a beautiful piece, man. When you said Oak Park, were you Illinois? Am I thinking Oak Park, Illinois? Were you?
No, the Supermax prison in Oak Park, Minnesota,
Okay, okay,
Oak
okay.
Park Heights.
Let me ask this question. What went through your mind when you knew you were facing 999 years, 99 months, and 99 days? What went through your mind when that was told to you?
Initially, when it was told to me, I just, maybe it was naive, maybe it was my youth. I thought I could handle it. I just like, okay, I understood where I come from. I understood, you know what I'm saying, what comes with the life that I was living, that I was raised up in. And then I think the initial hit is the first time I heard my son's voice on the phone. And
Hmm.
that's when reality kicked in. And the reality wasn't for myself. It was like, man, I left my son and my daughter out here by themselves. And now what
Hmm.
am I going to do? And that's the part that broke me.
Hmm. So not the sentence reading itself, so not knowing the sentence, that didn't break you. But after hearing the voice of your son and your daughter, that's what broke you, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Let me ask this follow-up question. So when I listened to your story, I read your story, you didn't even do the crime that they sentenced you to. Someone else
No.
did the crime, right?
Yes.
So you were
Yes.
sentenced to a crime that you did not do, but you knew who did it, and you would not say anything.
Yes.
Did it make you reconsider? Did you reconsider your decision not to quote unquote snitch, is what they call it, right? Not to
Yes.
snitch, looking at 999 years, 99 months, 99 days for somebody else. This essentially, you're going to do this time for another person. And then when you
Yeah.
heard the son and daughter's voice and you said that broke you, did you reconsider your decision not to say anything?
No. I
And
didn't
why?
reconsider. Again, I was young. You know, I was trained through family, through the streets that, you know what I'm saying, like this stuff come with it. And so I understood that even at a young age, like I made some choices. You know what I'm saying? No, I didn't commit the crime, but God knows everything I did do. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I made some choices, and my choices put me in this position, so I had to stand up under it. Like the other option of snitching, it didn't cross my mind because that just was not who I was trained to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit, man, because that's not new, right? We hear of brothers and sisters doing time for crimes they didn't commit, but knowing the person did because they refuse to snitch. That is strong. Tell me where that comes from.
It's so that question is kind of deep, right? And at the time, if you'd have asked me that as a young man, I wouldn't have been able to break it down. But looking back, I can break it down now. Like really, bro, like in us is a strength that we never even knew we had. You know, it was a misguided strength, but it was
Hmm.
a strength that's built in us, and
Hmm.
it comes out in different ways for different people. Like for me, it came out where okay, I had to stand up under what I signed up for, and unfortunately, my kids were victim of my decisions, but
Mm-hmm.
my choice, but it was my choices that got me there, and so
Mm-hmm.
to we had these blind loyalties. We have these things that they call rules to the game, which now I know is
Mm-hmm.
all false and all a trick. But at the time, those rules were the rules of my life. Like my dad grew up, I grew up under a dad who was in the streets. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That my dad was a pimp and a drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up seeing and hearing some things that most people don't hear and see. And so
Mm-hmm.
and so the devil used that strength that's in us in the wrong way.
Hmm.
You know? And so my only thought was not snitching, but okay, I'm here. Now I gotta do something to make sure my kids are good. One way or another. Wherever I'm at, I still gotta make sure these
Hmm.
babies is good. And so now I just had to look for another avenue to make sure my babies was good.
How was you going to do that sitting in a prison cell? What was your plan to make that you sure your children were good while you were sitting in the prison cell looking at 99 years, 999 years?
So I'm in my mind, I said I gotta give my kids something to aim at. And so I'm like, I'm going to school, I'm gonna get this college degree as you
While in
see
prison.
while in prison. I'm gonna get
Mm-hmm.
this college degree. I'm gonna learn what I can learn. I'm gonna give them as much knowledge, as much wisdom as I could give them from this prison cell.
Mm-hmm.
And so I start putting myself in position to have something to offer them. Like my son and my daughter didn't know nothing, you know what I'm saying? They didn't know my street life. I told people don't ever tell my kids nothing about me. I'm gonna let me do that. You know what I'm saying? We not bringing my kids up in the same thing I was brought up in. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was my aim. I just started learning. I just started studying. I God came and grabbed hold of me. Like I always believed in God, I just didn't know how to get to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dug deeper into faith. I started studying. I studied multiple religions. I studied different books. But no matter how far I got, it was just like Christ grabbed a hold of me and
Mm-hmm.
wasn't nothing shaking that. After I got that revelation of who he was, that changed my whole life. I literally went into prison and told the cats from my neighborhood, I literally told them, I said, listen, and I had a plethora of enemies because I really lived that street life. I really did that. I told them, I said, I don't need nobody's help. I said, I'm good. I'm done. Whatever happened from this point, I'm a soldier up and march it out. So I went into prison and I wasn't with my homies. I wasn't the gang ties and all that. I dropped all that from day one. And anybody can tell you, I never looked back. When Christ grabbed me, it was over.
Mm-hmm. And he grabbed you in prison.
He grabbed me in the county, bro. I
Wow.
I,
So
I,
when you were in the county waiting to go to the Supermax.
I was in the county, bro. This, if you don't mind, I'll share the story with you.
Go
Cause
ahead. This is the platform, man. I want you to.
so when I got to the county, like I said, I had a lot of enemies. Like if you research my life, people will tell you like I really lived that life. Like I was the stuff people talking about, I was really doing that. I was really in it. And so when I got to the county, I had so many enemies. And I got in there, and now ain't no guns in the county. So now you guys soldier up and do what you got to do. And so I went in with the mindset like, okay, it is what it is. We're gonna get it in. So I started getting in trouble in the county. I got in so much trouble they put me in my own unit. And when they put me in there, I had a whole floor to myself. When I
Hmm.
went in there, I'm by myself, and ain't no books. I'm cleaning up, and there was a book under the bed. It didn't matter what the book was. I ain't got nothing to do. I'm finna read it, right? But lo and behold, it was the Bible. The covers were tore off. And so I didn't know what book it is. So I stayed up all night reading the Bible. I read the book of Daniel. That was the first book I read in the Bible. And for some reason, I believed it. And if you read the book of Daniel, you know that's some wild stuff.
Oh, bro, Lions Den. I mean, come on. Just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know
So
what I'm
you was
saying?
and you were definitely in the Lions Den, brother.
Hey, what? You know what I'm saying? So I stayed up all night reading the Bible, bro. The next morning, They were coming to get me for court. They was finna come get me for court. I got on my knees. It was like 5 in the morning. I got on my knees and I just said, this is the prayer I literally pray. I said, God, I don't know if I'm messed up, if I'm too messed up for you to save me, but if I ain't, then save me.
Mm.
And that was the conversation I had. Bro, I didn't know nothing about the church stuff. I wasn't raised up in the church, bro. I went to get up, bro, and start bawling like a baby. I'm crying, and the next thing I know, I'm speaking in tongues, bro. I didn't know
Mm.
what I was doing. I just knew what took place. The guards opened the door to come get me to court, bro. I can't stop speaking in tongues.
Wow.
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, they gonna think I'm crazy. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm thinking. But as they're cuffing me, I'm still speaking in tongues. And as we walk down the hallway, it fades off. I come back from court. I call my mother. I'm like, Mom. I said, hey, and I told her what happened. She said, son, you got baptized in the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
And that was my experience. And from that point on, I went into the prison system. I start, bro, when they brought me back, put me in a unit with other people. Bro, I never read the Bible in my life. I'm in the county having Bible studies in my cell, bro. And that was a turning point.
Mm.
And I just told God, I said, no matter what, I said, if I go home, I'll go to prison, no matter what, I'm gonna just serve you. And that's
Mm.
before I
Wow.
knew I was getting 999 years.
And that's before you the sentence was pronounced on you?
That was before all that.
Wow. So then after that, you just dug deep and said, God is with me. I'm just gonna do this time, and whatever God has for me is what your. It sounds like that's what your attitude was.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Now, while you were there, and we're gonna get into now you're out. I mean, because evidently it hasn't been 999 years. You're here,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
we got to talk about how you're released. That's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting. But you did also try to fight to get out, right? So you weren't just sitting there like I'm just gonna do this and I'm not gonna fight, but you did fight to get out, and you had 7 appeals, right?
Yes.
And each of them were denied. Talk about that and what kept you from really crushing under the weight of being denied like 7 times.
It wasn't the denial, it was the reasons behind the denial, right?
Okay.
Like, just imagine this. You file for your appeal. The courts tell you, yeah, you right, but you ran out of time.
Ran out of time. What does that mean?
So they have limitations on when you can file. You have a time period
Oh,
that
like
the
a
court set up.
statute of limitation, or
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
like
So,
that.
so they got time periods, and so I'm filing, and they say, "Yeah, you right." One court say, "Yeah, you right," but you ran out of time, and so you file to the next court, like, "Hold on, how this is in the interest of justice? Shouldn't this A, B, C, and D happen?" And they say, "Yeah, you right," but the time bar still sticks. Yeah, yes, and so yeah, it crushed me. It didn't kill me. It hurt.
Right,
It was deep,
right,
but all I can really say, bro, like honestly, all I can say is God was carrying me because I don't know how I stayed focused and stayed the course, knowing. But and another thing, God, by God's grace, like He really gave me an understanding. Like I told you, bro, I lived the street life. I can't go before God and say I'm innocent. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like the reality,
right,
and I knew that early on. Like God knows everything I did, and so though I didn't do this, God got a laundry list of everything else I did do. And so
yeah,
I couldn't really stand on innocence. All I could ask for was mercy.
mm, that's
Even
incredible.
though I didn't commit this crime. I sowed some seeds and it just came to harvest in this way.
Mm,
And so by the grace of God, like I said, he gave me an understanding early that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you reap what you sow, and you sowed some stuff, and this is the
right.
result of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because this. I heard this preacher say the other day. He says sometimes sometimes the devil has us where God wants us to be,
Hmm.
right? And it
Yeah.
sounds like the devil had you where God wanted you to be.
Yes. Yeah. It's a crazy story, right? So all my pills were denied. I didn't have no more options. The only, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And so the courts didn't release me. I'm sitting in Supermax prison. A guy comes through who used to be from a rival gang. And he didn't see my change, and me and him started building. He like, bro, you might want to try this. He said,
So
bro,
this is the rival on the streets
yeah, yeah, yeah.
who you both are connecting now, and he's giving you direction on how you can get out.
Bro,
Wow, that's
the
God.
guy that the guy that told me, bro, I literally at one point had him at gunpoint, literally in his face. And to this day, I don't know why I let him go. And so this ain't just no rival. This is somebody that, you know what I'm saying?
That you was about to take
I
out.
was
You
about to
was
take his
like just
life. I was about to
wow.
take his life. And now we're in prison, and he been watching me and watching the way I moved. And the man came up to me and said, bro, if anybody deserve to go home, you deserve to go home, bro. You should try this. And so he came with a piece of paper, and it was a pardon board commutation board.
Mm-hmm.
And they had qualifications of how you filed for it. Many people don't know I filed for it and got denied by them too. And so it was just another denial. Fast forward, it was just God's timing. Fast forward, I'm in a whole nother prison with a whole nother set of guys, and another guy brings me the paper, like, bro, file for this. I'm like, I already did. They denied me. He like, bro, file for it. And so, no lawyers, no legal help. When I tell you all I had was God, me and some inmates filled out my application. I put, by faith, I put a release plan together.
Okay.
By faith, I said, if y'all let me go, this is what I'm gonna do when y'all let me go. And you ain't supposed to send that in, but I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sent in the application. Now this is wild. So I'm in college at this time,
What do you study in college?
communications.
Okay.
And so I'm in college at this time. I'm about to graduate. I get a letter in the mail from the pardon board. They say, we're not granting you a hearing. We're telling you, we're giving you a chance to appeal and tell us why we should give you a hearing. And so, again, no lawyers, no nothing, just God. I went in the cell. I drew up some papers, told them why they should hear me, sent it in. About a month later, I get another letter. We're going to give you a hearing. The hearing is like 5 months out. The day before my hearing, I get called. I get a knock at my door. It's a prison staff. He like, Gates, could you come down to the office? Now the only time the staff knock on your door like this, either somebody died, it ain't never no good news. And so I'm thinking, because my dad died while I was fighting my trial, so I'm like, dang. I'm trying to think like, man, who is it? And so I go down to the counselor's office. The counselor like, Gates, I don't want to be the one to tell you this. I'm like, what's up? He like, they canceled your hearing. I'm like, what?
Hmm.
I said, they canceled my hearing or they canceled all the hearings? He said, no, they canceled your hearing. No reason, no explanation, no nothing. So I go back up to my cell. I sat down and I just said, all right, God. And I went back with my life. I went back to school. A month later, I get another letter. I open it. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, okay, maybe this is the reason why they denied me. And there's a date. Your hearing date is now such and such, such and such. Right? So I'm charged now. I'm like, whoo, So I open the door. I'm on the second galley. I open the door, and I'm like, I just come out, and one of the guards just see me. I guess he see my body language. And he looked up. He said, "Gates, you going home?" You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I said, eventually, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Fast forward,
Mm-hmm.
it's graduation date, December 20th. I get another letter, December 20th. They're like, your hearing is December 20th. Now I'm graduating college. So I go to my professor because my classmates asked me to be the
Mm-hmm.
one to be the speaker for the graduation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first ever graduation, prison graduation for MCTC Trek program. So I'm the first one. I tell my professor, I'm like, hey, I ain't gonna be able to do the speech. We're gonna have to pick somebody else. I told him why. He said, you can't push it back. I said, excuse my French. I said, hell no. Like, you want me to push my hearing for my freedom back? So it was bananas, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like,
What kind of
absolutely.
question was that?
Yeah, like,
Right.
are you crazy? I don't care that this is the first ever. I'm trying to. So we didn't know what time my hearing was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I get the time for the hearing. This day was so wild, bro. So I invited my mom, who has never seen me speak before, to my graduation because they were letting people come in because this is the first ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I invited my big brother, Marquise Bowie. We ain't seen each other in over 15 years.
Yeah, we just interviewed him.
Yeah.
Yes. Mad
So
Dog. Dirty
yes,
Dirty.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, because I'm in the state, he's in the Fed. So we haven't seen each other in 15 years. We haven't spoken
Mm.
or seen each other. So this is the first time he's going to see me at my graduation. You know what I'm saying? And so
Wow.
by the grace of God, the graduation was in the morning. My hair wasn't until the late afternoon.
Wow. So you were able to do both.
So I went in, bro. I don't even know how I did it, bro. I went in the morning, gave the speech. The president of MCTC college said, literally, came up to me, and the staff came up to me. They said that was the greatest speech we have ever heard. And to this day, I
Mm.
couldn't tell you because I was in a whole nother space. I couldn't
Yeah,
tell you,
you was in God space.
man, listen, I couldn't tell you right now what I said in that moment.
Wow.
Right now, I
Wow.
can tell you. But whatever I said, I guess that's the impact. So I leave my graduation. I go back to my unit, bro. I go back to the unit. The prison's on lockdown. Now, I don't know if you know anything about a lockdown, but when the
Nothing
prison
moving.
locked down,
Nothing.
nothing's shaking. I don't care what kind of hearing you got out.
You in
Nothing
your
is shaking.
cell. That's right.
It's
Can't come
over.
out. Yes.
I walk in the unit, the staff like, yeah, Gates went on lockdown, you got locked in. I looked, I'm like, what? I'm like, oh man, this can't be real.
Hmm.
I'm gonna speed it up for you because I know for this time's sake.
No, brother. I want you to take your time because then
Okay,
we can do part two.
okay, okay.
Can we do that?
Yes, we can, bro. We'll make that
Continue and
happen.
let's do part two. Yes.
Okay, so he sends me to my cell. I go to my cell. We have cellies. I go to my cell. My cell's empty. My cellie packed up while I was gone. He said he packed up because I was too calm and it scared him.
Because you were too calm
Yeah, he
and it
said,
scared him.
yeah, because he knew what I was facing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
he said, man, he said, because I'm in the door. I'm like, bro, what happened? He like, bro, you was too calm, man. It scared me. I said, so now
No,
I'm in the cell,
right. I can imagine, right? Somebody facing something that you're facing and you're calm, you're liable to do anything.
and I'm
And I guess
thinking
that's
like,
what it was on his mind. Anyway,
yeah.
I don't want to be in his head and assume to know what he was thinking, but I can only imagine, and you know,
But that was his thoughts. But I'm thinking I'm gonna at least have somebody to talk to because it's me
right.
and my celly. We was cool. It was an older gentleman, man, and my brother. So I'm thinking I'm gonna come back and at least I'll be able to process this thing with him. Nope. I open the doors, he gone. So I just like I turned on gospel music, bro, because I didn't know what else to do. I just turned on the gospel music and I just started pacing myself. My hero was supposed to be at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock come, gone. 5 o'clock come, gone. I'm just like,
Mm.
dang, it's over. I don't know when I'm gonna get another hearing. Around 5:40, my door clicks. Click. I'm like, I hop up, I open the door. He like, Gates, come down. So I come down, I sit in the chair. He's like, yeah, I think they're gonna be ready for you. So I'm sitting in the chair. I sit in the chair for about 20 minutes. Phone rings. He said, Gates, go back up. I'm like, so now I go back to the cell, lock in. I'm like, man, when I tell you a roller coaster, bro. So now I'm back in the cell and I'm just praying. I'm like, all right, God. Again, I'm just like, all right, God.
Mm-hmm.
I sit in the cell for about 15 more minutes and my door click again. You're like, Gates, they ready for you. I'm like, so I get back dressed. I grab all my materials and I go down. They take me into we do it over Skype. So they take me down to the Skype. I'm sitting there. It's the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, Governor Walz, and Chief Justice Gilday. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. Now, I have to get a unanimous vote. If one person says no, it's over.
You need all three of those.
You got all three. You got to have all three at this time. It's changed now, but back then you had to have all three.
Mm-hmm.
And it was told to me that Chief Justice Gilday said she would never release a lifer. And so I'm like, so I got an uphill fight, like literally, like this woman, and she stood on that business. She didn't. In her whole career, she didn't let no lifer go home. I didn't realize until 2 months ago that I was the first ever
Mm. And
in
what year was
Minnesota.
this? That this process happened?
This was 2020.
Okay.
And so I go into the hearing. I got all my things. You can have two people speak on your behalf. So I had my sister and I had my friend speak on my behalf, who I met in prison, named Gary. What I didn't know is, because nobody prepped me, you have 15 minutes, right? I thought I had 15 minutes. But no, we had 15 minutes. And they literally have a clock with 15 minutes like the NFL draft ticking down.
Right.
And so they're there in person. I'm sitting in prison. I can't even tell them that, hey, we got to share this 15 minutes. So they speak. Bro, when I tell you they left me with a minute and 60 something seconds to speak for my life, bro. A minute is 57 seconds is what I had to speak to these people to convince them to release me.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get done speaking, what I had planned to speak, I couldn't even do it. It's over because so now I just have to speak from the heart.
Mm.
So I get to speaking. And throughout whatever I said something that irritated Chief Justice Gilday. And I'm watching her body language. She went from sitting like this and she leaned forward and she was like, and I'm like, and I didn't know why. And she stopped me. She said, Mr. Gates, what do you mean you made a mistake? And I'm like, I said, what I meant when I said a mistake was this. I said, in my life, I realized that there were a bunch of little mistakes that didn't get checked. And those mistakes led to this moment where this man lost his life because them mistakes didn't get checked. And so she went from this and then she sat back. Governor Walz looks at me. He said, Mr. Gates, now I believe I'm finna get grilled because I don't know what they're going to ask me. Governor Walz says, I have two questions for you. He said, I've seen it and heard everything you did. He said, I want to know, how did you do that under these circumstances? He said, how did you maintain such a positive lifestyle and a strong bond with your children under these conditions? I wasn't prepared. I didn't think, I would have never guessed that was the question that was going to be asked. And so I
Mm-hmm.
just told him, I said, honestly, I gave my life to Christ and I try my best to live in accordance with what he says. And I said, so my life reflects what I believe. I said, and as far as my children, I use every resource given to me, whether it's letter, email, phone calls, visits.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
capitalize on those moments with my babies, and that's how I
Mm-hmm.
maintain that. Then Keith Ellison chimes in. He says, "I have two questions too." He says, "I'm reading the." He says, "I'm reading the criminal history and the report of the crime." He said, "He said, am I missing something?" He says, "Because I see it says that you wasn't the shooter." I said, "No, sir. I wasn't the shooter." He said, "So you didn't?" And my sister yells from the crowd, "No." I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, girl, shut up. This ain't the time for that, right? like this ain't the place for it. You know what I'm saying? But she, you know what I'm saying? She passionate. She like, no. And so he takes her answer like, he's like, am I reading also that the person who committed the crime has been home
Mm-hmm.
and that the person that committed crime only served 13 years? I'm like, correct.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at Governor Walz. He says, he said, man, this doesn't make sense. And so Governor Wall chimes back and he said, Mr. Gates, normally we vote at the end. He says, but I'm not going to make you wait. He said, I want to let you know right now, you have my vote. I'm like, man. I'm like, I still need two more though. So I'm like, Keith Ellison says, yeah, man, I'm not going to make you wait either. You got my vote too. I'm like, Chief Justice Gilday leans forward. Governor Wall says, Justice. She's like, I want to hear from the victim's family. Now, remind you, they had like 2 years to
Mm-hmm.
find these people and get anything they want if they wanted to say something. And so then Keith Ellison says, yeah, I changed my vote too. I want to hear from them too. So now I'm like, all right. Chief Justice Gilday like, well, let's have them back in like 6 months and let's see if we can contact the family. So I'm like, 6 months. Hey, I've been serving 25 years. I can if it's 6 months, all right. Then Keith Ellison leans forward. He said, Mr. Gates, didn't you say you talked to the victim's family? I said, yes, sir. Governor Wall said, Mr. Gates, so you have a number for them? I said, yes, sir. He said, can we have the number? I said, not at all. Man, you should have seen their faces, bro. When I told them no, they all looked like, huh? And he was like, may I ask why not? I said, I can't give you their number because they don't owe me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to force them to be in this position if they don't want to be here. And the governor, he's like, he looked like shook like that. Like, and I wasn't finna put them in that position. That wasn't, you know what I'm saying? They don't owe me. And I'm not finna force them to be in this place. And so the governor said, I'm gonna do something we have never done before. And he whispered, and he said, hey, can we pause this meeting? And it's like, yeah. He said, Mr. Gates, could you go back and call them and ask them, can we talk to them?
Oh man.
Yeah. Now remember, the prison's on lockdown too. I am not even supposed to be in the meeting right now because the prison's on lockdown. So not only did they let me out, they took me back to the unit so I can make a call.
Mm-hmm.
So I get back to the unit. I call the little brother of the man, Mr. Teasley. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to honor him and his family. I never want them to. He's not just a nameless person. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Mm-hmm.
Honor and respect belong to him and his family, and I'm gonna give it to him always. And so I called his little brother. His little brother reached out to me 3 years prior to this and asked me what happened. He like, I was 5 years old when my big brother was murdered. I just want to know what happened. And so I told him, I said, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna just tell you you know what I'm saying, tell you how it went. And so I just gave him the truth. I told him exactly what happened, how we ended up in that position. And he respected my honesty. And he respected it because he's from the streets too. So he know how, you know what I'm saying? And he in the streets, like in the streets. And so this ain't no, you know what I'm saying? Like he really in it. And so I go back to call him because we've been conversating, going back and forth, just building from that point on. I called him, he didn't answer. I had my mom text him. I called my mom. I said, Mom, call. I said, call bro real quick. He don't respond. Bro, I called 4 times. I'm like, the last time I'm like, I just sat there. I said, man, God. I said, Lord Jesus, let this man answer this phone. I call one more time. He pick up. He like, bro, what's wrong? Because I don't never call like this. I'm like, nah, I said, ain't nothing wrong. I said, bro, I said, I got this hearing today. He like, yeah. I said, and they was asking for your number, but I want, he said, man, give him the number. I said, bro, I wasn't going to just give him your number. He said, bro, give him the number. You know what I'm saying? So I hang up
Mm,
the phone. I run back down the hallway. Bro, the governor said, we're going to do something else we've never done before. He calls the man on the cell phone, puts him on speakerphone. Now, up until this point, again, remember, this is the victim's little brother. I don't know what he's going to say.
right.
Yeah, we built a relationship and we've been on some real things, but he can get on his phone and literally be like, listen, this is a
Right.
good dude. I love this dude, but I ain't ready for him to come home.
Right.
He could, but I don't know what he's going to say. He literally can say this.
Right.
So the governor's like, Mr. Teasley, do you understand what's going on right now? He's like, yes. Do you know that Mr. Gates can potentially come home? He's like, yes, sir. He was like, how do you feel about this situation? He said, and what he said, when I say I hadn't cried in a long time, he said, man, I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now, bro. He told them, he said, all my life I wanted to kill this man. He said, and then I met him. He said, when I met him, he said, I know y'all not gonna understand this. He said, though I lost my brother, I felt like I gained a new brother.
Brother, brother.
He said, he said,
Take your time, brother.
he said, he said, this man saved my life. He said it was times that I was going out to do things that I called him and he gave me the information I need to change the course of my life. He said, I don't know what it is about Coley. He said, but what I know is us youth out here need him right now. He said, so if you asking me, should he come home? I'm telling y'all he should come home right now because we need him. So, needless to say, I'm crying like a baby. The governor and the chief justice, and they're looking like they seen a ghost. Everybody there is like, it's completely quiet. And Governor Walsh looks at Chief Justice Gilda and he says, how do you want to vote? And she said, I voted, yeah.
Mm,
And so that's how I got home.
wow. Wow, brother. Thank you for sharing that story with us. And this is, I think we should end on this piece. And can we do another session with you, another episode with you?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Because there's some more questions. I want to unpack that. Um, and there's some more things I want to hear from you. And I think I think our community needs to hear from you, hear more of your story. And I thank you for being willing to share that with us today. So let's plan on doing it. We can talk offline here. Let's plan on doing part two
No
um,
problem.
of this, and then see where it goes. See how God takes it. He may, do even more sessions. It depends on how they flow. But God has this. This is His time, and I thank you, brother, for being willing to be open and honest and sharing yourself with us. So I really appreciate that. All right, brother. And so, any final words you want to say, and then we can close out. Just take 1 minute and just say one final word to the brothers and sisters who are listening and watching.
I think I'm closing. I just would say, like, there's some things that come into our life that are meant to destroy us. But like God said, what the devil meant for harm, God would turn around for good. And there was a quote I seen in this movie. I woke up, I couldn't sleep one night in prison. And the movie quote was, "The instrument they meant for my destruction has now become my salvation."
Wow. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome, bro.
Grace and peace, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this episode of YANA. You are not alone. And remember, we are interdependent on each other. We're never meant to do life alone. And you don't walk the journey of life alone. Thank you again for joining us. And then stay tuned for the next episode of YANA with Coley Gates. We're going to do this again. And we're going to continue to talk about his story until God says, that's enough. So thank you all. Grace and peace. Hey, yes, and go get his book, Uncommon Sense. And the box what it said, the box that they
We are
uh
bigger than the box you
we
put us in.
we are bigger than the box they put us in, and if my tears could talk, part two. So go get his books. And we're gonna talk more about that in the next session. Thank you so much. Blessings, everyone. Grace and peace. Yana is here for you. This is your space to connect, grow, and be heard, because none of us are meant to do life alone.